Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Meshery Build and Release call. This call takes place every other week on Thursdays, every second and fourth Thursday of the week. So here we are today. Uh, I'll I'll put the I'll put the link to the meeting minutes in the chat. So if you haven't written your name into the attendees list, please do so. That's highly encouraged so that we know that you were here. And also, if you have any agenda items from the last call, if you have any agenda items from the development call, please put those items over on the meeting minute as well. And as we go on discussing few of these items, you might get your hands on few of the issues that are which are good first issues. So keep an eye for them. So I'll start sharing my screen now. So yeah, before I even start with any of the items, I just like to I just like to say that in every call we like to welcome newcomers, like to get to know people. So if you're new to the call, it would be highly encouraged that you introduce yourself. So I'm seeing Biswajit. I guess I have Biswajit. Have you introduced yourself, or if my memory serves?
Yes, I have introduced in the previous call. I just want to know that how to contribute to this community. Like I'm new to the open source, so I have little bit knowledge of Go and Docker and Kubernetes.
Yeah, so if you want to get an idea about, because these calls are specific to a particular thing, so this is a build and release specific call. There is a newcomers call that takes place. It also took place today as well. Were you there in the newcomers call?
No, unfortunately, I can't get the link in the calendar. It's not showing.
Okay, if you have subscribed to the calendar, then I think it should show you. Any other ways, you can ping Gaurav in the in general channel. He hosts that call and he can help you out in getting to the next newcomers call. And that's the call where we kind of discuss. You basically introduce the project to the newcomer so that you have an idea of the surface area of the entire project and where you can get started.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So Ravi, I guess Ravi, you were there in yesterday's call, right? You were there in yesterday's development call, if my memory
Yes,
serves.
yes.
Yeah, you're the
Yep.
great guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So that being said, let's just start with the agenda items. So I'll talk about this Meshery test plan in a while, but before that, let's get to one or two items, and then I can come back to what this Meshery test plan is. So the first item is from Aditya. Aditya, would you like to talk about this change that you did?
Yeah. Uh, I didn't do it, but yeah, I need to discuss it.
Okay.
Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Okay. So currently, let's quickly discuss what the issue is. Right. So the ID here, we can see there are duplicate ID here, right? That was causing a problem. One solution was to fix this, was that use design ID instead of this hard-coded Meshery 00000. And I think that's a relatively easy change, but there are a few things that I guess needs to be considered before making this change. One thing is that the current the workflow does not have a design ID in the front matter. Like it does not add a design ID in the front matter, although it has uh, it does name the file with the design ID, but inside the front matter we don't have a design ID, so it will be really difficult from the front end to access that this design ID. Even though this can be done using
you
some.
can you can directly change the workflow.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's one thing. And what another thing is like what to do with design with like there's no this design ID. Like suppose this one, this is a previous, like it's present there. It will like it will show, but this will not have any design ID. So what to do about this one?
Okay, so ideally the designs. Okay, so just to give other folks a little bit of context, in Meshery catalog, so we have designs, which is a unit of Meshery deployment. So you can create designs using either mesh map or using your designer, and then you can deploy those designs, and you can also publish those designs. As a matter of fact, we would be discussing the documentation around, because a lot of that is not documented, so we would be discussing what publishing a design means. So if you create a design and you think that other folks can use it, these are all the published designs, so you can download them and you can use them. So the ones with the UUIDs are the ones which are created by the workflow that was added. And this workflow automatically, whenever someone publishes a design, so if you're a contributor, you request for a design to be published. If you're a curator or if you are an admin, the design is directly published. So after your request is approved, these designs are published over here. Few of the fields are missing, for example, user ID and the username. So who created this particular design, who published it, and those things would be added over here shortly. And the ones like, can you click on this book info application, this emoji photo app? Okay, so yeah, like this one as well. So first of all, just for the sake of consistency, you can rename them manually with the UID names. And the ones who do not have a UID name do not have a subsequent design attached to them. So they are the coming soon designs that like there is no actual design over there, but these were the placeholders that we had before we had actual designs. But some of these placeholders were removed by actual designs, but some of them the sidecar proxies and proxyless service, these designs haven't been replaced with another design that actually has a design ID. So having a design ID means that someone created a design. So Aditya, I think for these, just do not display the mesh 300 or any particular ID, because if because that because if folks cannot, like, people can click on it and they can see what's coming and they can look at the description, but if they cannot download it, then providing an ID to it doesn't make much sense. So if you hover, if you go above onto those designs, yeah, so for those designs, just remove that ID. If someone has any better alternative, so like the
Yeah,
download button is, as you can see, these are coming soon. So as a download button is disabled, people won't be able to download these designs anyways. So you
but
can just,
these like this card is still clickable. Like even though it's like these are coming soon, the card is still clickable. So we need to have this thing here.
okay, so this is the index that we use to actually take it to that page. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Okay, so either we can gray it out because these are placeholder designs. So just like the other designs that we have, which do not have a resultant design that people can download. So um, what's the difference between these coming soon designs and the ones which are grayed out?
Okay, so difference between them is that it's in the UI side only. Like these are clickable, like the names are visible. The coming soon that are like here grayed out are not clickable at all.
Okay. Okay.
Like
So
name is also not visible. Right? There are visual some UI changes required there.
mhm, mhm. I do not want to recommend any hacky idea here, because yeah, we want to be a little bit more consistent. But for now, there can be, the first thing that comes to mind is to, because
Okay.
we have the actual designs now, um, we can get rid of the placeholders or drop them down to the coming soon
Yeah, I guess
designs.
all the designs with this coming soon can be grayed out. Like if they are clickable, they just can be grayed out, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can go with that.
Hmm. Okay.
You
And
can make this change and then tag Lee as well. See if like, this is my suggestion. So if and other folks as well, so that if other people have any better idea, they can.
okay.
So
So
one of the things that I was thinking about was, I'm no GraphQL expert, but using GraphQL mutations for a lot of this stuff, I think could be helpful. I mean, if we could integrate the GraphQL into the front end, just spitballing.
Yeah. So this Meshery.io website, these documentation websites, we're trying to keep a lot simpler, because we have like a bunch of other websites to maintain. So most of the GraphQL related stuff or anything that requires a little more work goes into Meshery UI. So when you think about so yeah, so it can be done, but the thing is that in the
We
list
have
of
to
tags.
make many things to make that thing work. That will be
Yeah.
added work.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's a great suggestion, but this is but the Meshery.io website is on a pretty much simpler side. So we can keep it this way.
You're thinking more in the short term, like just getting it done.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Because yeah, that requires like a design proposal, and you can
Sure.
have to go through all the considerations and all. So for now, the quickest way, and that can be in a roadmap, that can be way down the line when we want to get to it, because we juggling so many items at once, it's hard to just start like yeah. So yeah, Aditya, I think for now we can grade them out,
Okay.
just like the ones coming soon.
Okay. So my task will be to edit the workflow to add the design ID,
Yeah,
and then add, I guess, manually add design ID to the current one that we have, right?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have another one agenda also. I'll quickly
let's
finish
uh,
this
let's
out.
get let's circle back to it.
Okay.
I'll talk about test plan and then we can come back to that.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, so I'll drop a link to the test plan in meeting minutes. This is Meshery's test plan, which is to say we have two spreadsheets over here. One is a spreadsheet that encapsulates all the permutation and combinations of different Meshery components and different test scenarios for those components. So, for example, you have UI, you have Meshery CTL, and you have Meshery adapters. And some of these are end-to-end tests, some of these are integration tests, some of these are unit tests. Some of these are just manual tests. So for example, the first test over here, you can see it's like an installation test. So if you're trying to get your hands on Meshery, let's say, it's always recommended that you come to this test plan. And then, for example, let's say that the test scenario says that you should be able to install Meshery CTL and start Meshery on your Kubernetes platform if you use this action. So what you can do is you can use this action. You can use this particular test scenario as a starting point to I try to do this, and you should be having the expected outcome. If you don't have an expected outcome, report a bug, or inform people in the community, hey, I was testing this thing out and I ran into this thing. So what's the issue with that, so we can fix it. So basically this is a sheet to maintain all the user flows and to make sure that so for example, if you're installing Meshery on in Docker, if you're running Meshery in Kubernetes, every permutation or combination that you can imagine that you can do with Meshery CTL and UI, it's already been documented over here. And yeah, you can report a bug if there is a deviation from the expected outcome. At the bottom of all these things, we have almost at the bottom, these rows are about the adapters end-to-end tests that we would be talking about. Coming back to another spreadsheet. So we have workflows spread across all the repos, the Meshery repo, and then we have Meshery adapters repo. And all of these repos have their own tests and their own builds and everything. So this spreadsheet kind of tries to put in one place all those tests and builds. So if you want to get an idea about what particular test is there and when does it run and what does it do, etc., etc., you can come here and look at this spreadsheet. So yeah, there was, and again, as I said, for all these adapters, they've been encapsulated into one row because we want to be as uniform with all of our service mesh adapters. So all of these have the consistent set of end-to-end tests, the component generation. I'll talk about what component generation is, and build and lint tests. So all of these tests are uniform across all the adapters. So they've been in one row. So yeah, this is the Meshery test plan, and this should come handy if you're contributing to, like, for example, if there is an issue that is created with the tag CI, it's helpful to come back to this test plan to get a reference of, okay, this is the workflow that I want to work on, and then this is that particular thing this workflow does, etc., etc. And yeah, this will come in handy for all the contributors. So that's why it's a standing agenda item, so I pointed it out. And now if anyone has any questions, I'll wait for 5 to 10 seconds, and then we can circle back to Aditya so that he can go to his next item.
Yeah, just one question. So in the process of testing locally, you basically spawn a server, build it locally, and then run your UI and basically, are interacting that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so let's move on to Aditya. Aditya, would you like to talk about the next slide? The
Yeah. Okay. So this is the issue. Currently, we have almost around 150 plus integrations that are visible in the layer 5 IO website, but in the Meshery.io website, we are only showing 80 integrations, like almost 80 integrations. And so I investigated to it. What I found out was that so this is the workflow.
Aditya, wait a second. I'll again give a little bit of context to what we're discussing over here. So can you go to Meshery repo? Yeah, here can you click on actions? Yeah, on the left side, I think can you find that one which updater? Yeah, this one. And okay, yeah, and click on any. So this is a workflow which runs, and we have components. And whenever I use the word components, it basically means that uh, in terms of Kubernetes, if you're coming from Kubernetes, you can imagine a custom resource. So if I say that Meshery can deploy a component, it's like, yeah, it's Meshery can deploy a custom resource. It can be a Kubernetes custom resource. It can be something else as well. So what happens is that there is a spreadsheet. Can you also open the spreadsheet, Aditya? That one, yeah. So this is an integration spreadsheet, and this spreadsheet, if you scroll all the way down, these are all the components. These are all the models. We use the word model. So there is a model. So Kubernetes is a model. Argo CD is a model. Let's say Jenkins is a model. These are models, and under each model you have a bunch of components, so a bunch of custom resources. So just like any model can define a CRD, so inside of Kubernetes, any particular model can have a bunch of components. And right now we are working. So we are working towards this mesh model thing is not completed in the UI side, but yeah, we are working to have all these components inside of mesh models, which is to say you would be able to open your mesh UI and then drag and drop, let's say, an Argo a workflow from, let's say, the model Argo, and then you would be able to design it, draw edges from it, etc., etc., and all the things like what the logo of that particular thing would be, that is sourced all the way from here. This is the spreadsheet. This is the single source of truth. Aditya, can you also put the link to this spreadsheet in the chat? So this is the single source of truth for all the components. So there are three use cases of this particular spreadsheet. One is the one that it populates these SVGs and all this data inside of the Meshery server, so that Meshery UI, which currently doesn't use these, but there is an open PR, and it's a long work in progress. So as we move towards mesh models, these particular components, these particular SVGs, secondary colors, primary colors, this can be used by the UI to render those particular nodes. That's the first use. Second use is now there are two other uses which are kind of go hand in hand. One is the layer5.io website. If you can open the layer5.io website, there is yeah. So these particular honeycomb nodes are populated dynamically. So the same workflow that actually updates those particular SVGs inside of Meshery server also updates inside of layer 5 repo and inside of Meshery repo. And this is the workflow which does that. So as you can see from in the layer 5 repo and in Meshery repo, the action should be uniform. But in layer 5 repo, it has updated 150 integrations, and in Meshery.io repo, as Aditya showed you, it's just 80 plus integrations. The workflow is the same, the spreadsheet is the same, source of truth is the same, the work. So yeah, if everything is the same, that now coming back to Aditya, tell whatever he found, why is there 150 there and 80 here?
Okay. So the main reason, like as you said, everything is the same. In fact, the output of the like integration is also the same. Where we are making mistake is that in the UI part. So in the UI part, how we are displaying data is from this data.js file, right? And earlier, what it used to have was that just 80 components, like it was hard coded 80 components in the data.js file. So you can see in this index.html. Yeah, where is it? Yeah, so here it was. The workflow was updating the integrations or the components in the data.json file, but while we are displaying that table or grid on the integration meshery.io website, we are using data.js file, which was not updating automatically, which was hard coded when it was made. So that was the reason it was only showing 80 plus integration. So if we like change this, if we like change the content of data.js with all the contents that are coming at the data.json, we will get all the like 150 integrations, like yeah, like this one I made. So it was just the file that was needed to change, and I guess some more UI work left to be done. But yeah, the workflow is working completely fine. Just we were using different file other in the displaying process.
Is this a beginner friendly issue?
Uh, yeah, I guess so. It's very, yeah, just the you need to change few things here, and then here like the UI part, it should be centered a bit.
Okay, so whatever your discovery was, can you put that in a comment in the issue that was created? And if someone wants to take this up on the call, just put the link of that issue. I think you already have the link to the issue, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so put the link of that issue in the chat. I think it's also in the meeting minutes onto the
Mhm.
agenda item. So yeah, you can if that issue has already not been assigned to someone, I think it's assigned to you, Subedi, right?
Yeah, yeah. I was asked to investigate. I guess someone was interested to work on this. So yeah, I guess he can work.
Uh, I think on call we have an interest from Gopi, and Gopi had previously also made contributions. I think Gopi can take this up. So you can assign this to Gopi.
Okay, sure.
Also describe in a comment what's needed to be done so that it's pretty straightforward from his side as well.
Okay, okay, sure.
Okay, thank you, Aditya. Moving on to the next item, which is the uh, actually this one item. So in the last call, we discussed a lot of items and then we assigned action items to folks. And one of those action items was, I don't know if this one, okay, so for Linkerd, it was assigned to Alberto. If I don't think Alberto is in call today. So this issue was basically, I'll go over this issue. I have So the issue, I have created an issue in Linkerd, and so the issue is this, that as I said, that all the adapters should be uniform. They should have the same code structure. They should have the same almost everything except for the configuration data, which can vary from adapter to adapter depending upon what service mesh the adapter belongs to. So inside of config.go here, the Linkerd adapter inside of build config.go, so just to give a little bit of context again, the components that I keep talking about inside of templates, here you'll see these version directories. These are the components when I talk about quote unquote components. So, and inside of each of these version directory, you can find stuff like authorization policy. And whenever you see something like .linkerd, it usually means that it comes directly from Linkerd's custom resources. And for those, for thing like Jaeger Linkerd add-on, or for Mesh TLS, okay, no, not for this one. Another example would be this one, SMI Linkerd add-on, Viz Linkerd add-on. So these are add-ons provided by Linkerd. So they don't have a particular CRD for it. It's like you do Helm install and you then install that, or you can, again, if you're using design configurator or using mesh map, you don't want to design some stuff here and then other stuff there. So Meshery augments the existing capabilities of an adapter. So we can support out of the box what Linkerd already supports and then add our own stuff. So when you try to you can use Linkerd mesh, or you can use SMI Linkerd add-on with Linkerd add-on. Again, drag and drop those particular components from your designer drawer, or if you're using design configurator. If I'm using these words, design configurator and mesh, if you again, it's a good time to plug in mesh map. If you've already not signed up for mesh map, you can You can apply for mesh map. It's in beta right now, so you can apply to it, and you can get early access to it, and then you can play around with it. Or you can go in Meshery. You can go to playground.meshery.io. This is whenever I use the word designer drawer or design configurator. This is what I'm talking about. So you can play with it as well. There are a lot of things missing right now. So there are only Kubernetes components right now given over there. But in the spreadsheet I talked about, like there are 150 integrations. Not all of them are currently available. They are a work in progress. And so yeah, these are the components that I'm talking about. You can drag and drop and design and stuff. These SVGs that you see over here, these are sourced from the spreadsheet that I just showed and I talked about. So, okay, I diverged over there. These are the components, and this is the config.go is it has the initialization routine that populates all these variables that you see over here in Golang. And inside of main.go, whenever an adapter starts, there is a common go routine that kicks off, and that go routine does all that does is it. So, for example, if you are in linkerd adapter, it goes to linkerd. So it goes to linkerd slash something, whatever the repo is, and checks out what the latest version of that particular service mesh, in this case linkerd, is. And if we already have generated components for that service mesh for that version, then it's fine. Otherwise, we try to generate components for that version so that we are always up to date. And this latest version field is populated by a function which makes the call that I talked about, going to linkerd and asking, hey, what's the latest version? And over here, you can see the function that is being used over here is from the config package inside of linkerd. So if someone, okay, so just to get, just so that folks are listening, if you're interested in Go, this might be something you want to take up. Alberto said that he would take this up, but I think he got busy in other stuff. So if you're interested in your first Golang related issue, this might be it. So this is where I'm describing it so that it's easier to get into. So for reference, in this particular issue, I have also pointed out another, whenever you're working on something related to an adapter, it's always in good faith to go and check out another adapter to see what the discrepancy is. So you can come inside of an Istio adapter, and you can see that to get the latest version, what we do is inside of, there is a utils package inside of a meshkit. So what is meshkit? Just like we have all these repos, there is a meshery/meshkit repo, and that repo has helper functions and a lot of stuff that is common to all the Meshery projects. So it also has a common function which basically takes your GitHub or GitHub repo, and it fetches the first, I guess, first n versions and in a sorted manner. So actually, I should say the recent 30 or 10 something versions in the sorted manner. So because you have that array sorted, you can go to the last element will actually have the actual latest version. So this particular thing, for whatever is from line number 67 to 71, this is the correct way of fetching the latest version. But inside of linkerd, what we are using is we're using another function which is which calls in config package of and yeah yeah, this one. So it config.get latest release names. And yeah, the problem with this function is it only returns stable versions. But that's why even end-to-end tests are failing, because the end-to-end test actually try to deploy linkerd service mesh on edge, but we don't have all the appropriate components. Like all these edge components were filled up until 22.6.1, and then after that we only had stable ones. So just replace this particular function with the one that's already available in Istio. The org and repo would remain the same. So here you have like for basically linkerd, you'll have linkerd/linkerd2. Or you can, I think there was a PR by Alberto, the reason okay, so the last time basically I had dropped some particular yeah. So the so basically he had made some of these changes, but again some of the things were incorrect. Like here the repo name should be linkerd2, but it is linkerd. So you can engage in this particular PR, or if Alberto doesn't reply, you can take over this PR as well, if he doesn't mind, as he engages in other issues. Yeah, so this was this particular issue. I don't think whatever I said has an actionable item to a particular person, other than the fact that you can look at this particular, you can follow up on this particular issue, on this particular pull request, and if Alberto doesn't reply, then you can take over and make these changes. Okay, so that was about that. I think I'll again wait for 10 seconds. There was not much to discuss over here. It was, I think, while I'm talking about this, there was Nginx service mesh adapter thing as well, and the same change was needed there as well, and that was assigned to Ayush. Ayush, were you able to get around Nginx adapter to make the same change? This one that was assigned to you. Is Ayush here?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, 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 I have done that.
Okay, so is that peer merged?
Yes, it's merged.
Okay, thank you, Ayush. So, okay, so Ayush, as that PR is must, would you also make a watch of this PR? So if Alberto doesn't reply in time, because you have already made that change in one repo, you can take this up if Alberto doesn't reply. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
So I have a PR that's open on the Nginx as well, but I should probably close it, I think.
Okay. Was it about some propagation change?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
So,
It was the externalizing the config.
and I think it has already been externalized by someone else, right?
Yeah. I can't answer that, but I do not know.
Okay, I do see. And I think, yeah, this was also done by
Ayush
Ayush.
did it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know which PR came first. So if you made the change first and then I must Ayush PR, then it's my fault.
No, it's no worries. I'm not sweating it.
Yeah, it's cool. Okay, so thanks, Ayush. Okay, so another one was discussion around the docs. Let me reshare my screen. Just give me a second. Okay. So as I talked about, so yeah, we were talking about publishing. So if I don't have a Meshy server running right now, otherwise I would have shown the publish option, but uh, it'll take 1 minute. I think it's important that I show the UI so that is my screen sharing paused or okay. Okay, I think I haven't shared my whole screen. Just that's fine. Just give me a second. I'm running my Meshy server. So the first item was about those. The first item that Aditya talked about were about the designs that were published and their IDs and all. So there is a process to publish those designs. I'm going to talk about what that process is, and that process is currently undocumented. And there are multiple places where it can go. One of which is this particular docs, build-in release CI. Here mostly things related to CI are covered over here in this doc, and also over here, I guess, yeah. So I guess it's inside of add your content to cloud native catalog. So yeah, so this particular thing, add your content to cloud native catalog. Earlier, what was the case is because we did not have a flow, we did not have an automated whole thing, and as like Aditya was showing, there was few files without an ID, without a design. So if you wanted to add a particular design, what you needed to do was you needed to directly come over in meshy.io, website, and then you needed to manually do all that, but now you don't. Now the process is pretty straightforward, which is you are, let's say, running Meshery, and then you go into your designs panel. If you're running mesh map, then you go into your you go into mesh map. But I'll be sticking to my, this design configurator right now, as not everyone might have access to mesh map right now. So these are all the designs, let's say, and let's say I want to publish any one. I won't click publish right now because I do have an admin privilege, so they will get published, and I don't want to publish a design named untitled design. So because these are empty testing files. So let's say you want to publish a design as a curator or as an admin. If I click publish, I have to fill all these forms, like what's the compatibility of this design, what are the caveats around this design, what's the information. So like I can so this description is what you see over here when you click on, let's say, Postgres deployment. This description comes from, let me, okay, yeah. So this description, caveats and considerations, compatibility, they come from here. So earlier people had to go and manually, add their designs over there. But if you have used Meshmap, which is a preferred way of designing things, because you can draw edges and you can do all sorts of cool things. So if you have used Meshmap to design some of things, you can publish it so that other people can also use it. Like some Nishant has added, like, do not change. So I won't change anything. But let's say you have a service and then you draw some edges to the deployment. And here, Meshmap is the preferred way because you can collaborate folks as well. So if you have a currently so that everyone can collaborate, we have made it so all the designs are public. So if you use Meshmap, or even if you use Meshery design configurator, so this is Meshmap and this is the design configurator, and both of these things do exactly the same thing. But here you can do that. There you can do that a little visually, dropping nodes and stuff, and here you can create design, and you have to do it from over here. So yeah, that's a difference. So let's say that I create a new design, and again, so coming back to the publish workflow, if you click on publish as a non-admin and a non-curator, what happens is that it would actually create a catalog request inside of a remote provider, inside of layer 5 cloud, so their admins and curators can then, let's say, look at your design and then see whether it's worth publishing, whether there are some changes, whether that should be approved, whether that should be denied. If that is approved, you would get a mail something like, hey, your design was approved. You can call other people, you can share it with other folks, and then you can go to Meshmap Designer, and then you can clone it. So all the catalog items are actually, so there are some bugs going around. So these SVGs that you're seeing, this is an open issue. Someone's working on it. So just to point it out. So these are published designs, and the designs which are missing, or maybe I think this was fixed because this is a local build. I haven't built the UI, so that's on my part. So for the designs which are already published, you cannot edit a published design, but you can clone these designs, and then you can play with those designs, and maybe you made some change and then you want to publish it again. So so when you click on publish, it would create a request in layer 5 cloud, and the admins would be able to see your request that there is a request from this user. He wants to publish, he or she or they want to publish this particular design, and then the admin can allow. If they allow, then you get the notification that, hey, it was allowed. If so, you need to have you need to have account with the cloud as well. So this is a feature that is specific to remote provider and not local provider. Local provider is, we have two providers. So if you sign out from over here, you can also use Meshery without actually ever logging into layer 5 cloud or Meshery cloud. So yeah, so if you have already logged in, we have some of the information like your mail ID. So we'll mail you that it was published, and the moment it is published, it would be shown in the cloud native catalog over here, along with your name, along with that, hey, this user contributed and all. So then you can share it with your friends, and then do all sorts of cool stuff. So this flow is currently undocumented, and the documented flow is wrong. So the discussion was around, first of all, making changes over in this page somewhere. And second, adding a hyperlink to the, so let's say that we add another column over here, or some particular area where we describe the whole flow, that this is how you publish, and this is how you wait for approval, this is the mail you will get, this is how, etc., etc. So all that thing would be documented over here, and then there would be here, instead of just stating that make changes manually, uh, it, it would be a hyperlink to this particular CI documentation where it would be almost similar, like that's it, you're good to go. But instead of create a PR for your change and sit tight while a maintainer gets a chance to review it, those instructions inside of this particular documentation would be publish, and then the moment you click publish, you'll get a notification that, hey, your publish request was submitted, and then you will wait, and then there would be a mail saying that it was published, and then when you come back to Meshery UI, you'll find out that, yeah, okay, it was published. So now it's a published design. So yeah, that needs to be documented. That is completely undocumented right now, Colby. And the reason I took your name, and I think Lee also mentioned you, because I think you're really good at writing and kind of uh, see, I'm not able to phrase stuff right now, but you're better able to phrase stuff than me, and I'm not able to phrase the fact that I cannot phrase right now. So it would be
You're
helpful.
good. You're good. Question is, where on the workflow can I refer to so that I can basically cross-reference this stuff? That's what I need to know.
Yeah. So okay. The place where you can refer to is this one. Inside of Meshery.io, there is an action, and actually this one is okay. No, not this one, because so there are two actions actually over here, but these GitHub workflows actually, they're responsible for publishing it directly to. So there are two parts of that whole workflow. First part is getting it published. Second part is after it is at the state published, getting it over to the build and getting it over to the slash catalog. So that's the second part. So after it is published inside of Meshery Cloud, there is a webhook that's called, basically GitHub has this particular webhook. I think there's a particular trigger for it, and it is repository dispatch. So you can make an HTTP post call that we make from Meshery Cloud, and these are responsible for updating the catalog over here. So that's the second part. So the first part of it is the how the approval and deny thing goes. There you do not have any there you do not have any GitHub workflow, so to speak. So when you click on publish, when there is a request submitted, there is a table. Like, I cannot go over all the internals of what's there in the cloud, but just to help you out, there is a queue that is maintained over into the Meshery Cloud, and that queue is where we have all the requests coming. So for like this is one thing to notice. For one design, you can only request once. So like if you clicked on publish, so there are some changes needed on the UI. So once you click publish, it is either grayed out or we don't show it. But if you click publish once and your request goes to the queue, and then that request is queued, and then unless and all of these things are not part of a GitHub workflow, but rather because this thing requires manual intervention, because an admin has to come in, and other than the manual intervention part, whatever is left is part of the code and not any GitHub workflow. So when someone clicks on publish, a request is submitted with the design ID, and we already have the designs in our database. So once we know the design ID, whenever the admins or curators click on allow or deny, based on that particular design ID status is changed from private or public or whatever it was before to published. So and once it is published, well, then you can clone it back. So there is no actual GitHub. So again, as I said, there are two parts to it. The second part does have a GitHub workflow inside of Meshery.io website. Over in the .github add, there is add catalog, delete catalog workflow, where you can refer to how these. But if you want to ask me when do they get triggered, that's right. That's the answer to the fact when do they get triggered is after those are approved or after those are denied. And where is the logic for that? Well, that's in Meshery Cloud. So once these are approved or denied, these are manually called. So if you go into the actions, and you'll find for, let's say, add, this one was called yesterday. So what must have happened is someone requested, and then a curator clicked on allow, and the moment they clicked on allow, over here in the designs, it was changed from public to published. Over here it popped up, and the second thing that happened was this particular workflow was called through GitHub webhooks. So that's the whole workflow. Do you have any doubts now?
I will have to, like I said, try and go through the logic with my current access, like I can see this, but like I can only understand so much from what I can see, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
So, in order to fully document, it's me following the logic,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. So yeah, I'll do what I can, and I think I have a pretty good understanding about what needs to be done. So yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay. If you
The
have
other
any,
thing, the other thing about the docs was that Lee had mentioned, and I self-assigned the placing how to go about getting a token on the API documentation, and I was curious if you had any feedback on that. I mean, in terms of like what it should look like, because I mean, in my opinion, a link to how to get a token on the API docs would be sufficient. But, I mean, do we want, if you look at those documents, about how to get a token, there's some pictures, and it's a little bit more involved. And I don't know if that needs to be fully expressed on the API docs. Does that make sense?
yeah, so you have a pull request regarding that, or like,
No. I haven't submitted a pull request yet. I was looking into I mean, Lee put an issue on GitHub, and so I was going to tackle that, but I just didn't know how to, go about doing it, or what the admins wanted done.
okay. So actually, yeah, I was not aware of this particular thing, so I would not have a.
I'll tag you.
Okay. Then I can comment there, and we can carry
Yeah.
forward the discussion. Okay. And around the privileges, I'll make sure that you have enough information
Okay.
to be able to document everything. Okay. And if you have any particular doubts regarding, so you can.
I'll send you a message or whatever,
Yeah.
Slack or whatever.
Yeah. Thanks, Kobe. I hope
Yeah.
that was helpful to other folks as well.
No, you're good. You're good. I think I got to start.
Okay. So the next is from Ayush. Ayush, would you like to share your screen? Is Ayush over here, or is he AF? Okay. We cannot hear you. Okay, now we can.
So this is my first item. So as discussed, this was to externalize the config for the Nginx adapter, and it has been merged. And also, sorry to Colby if no, he had already opened a pull request on it and I hadn't saw it.
That's fine.
Yeah, so my second item was that I added some log commands in the Nginx SM adapter. So yeah, so these are basically some simple log commands to these functions like registering static workloads with Meshery server and inside these function because I saw these were like present in other adapters and not here, so I added it. And so before the lint tests for this uh, PR was failing because of a line in config.go. But since now the config.go has externalized, the lint tests are not failing, and this can be merged. But now this other test is failing. The same test in the test adapter pattern apply command. So like we discussed in this in the last call for the Puma mesh adapter also, and this is also failing here. But I believe it has nothing to do with my pull request. So
Yeah. Hmm.
I think
So okay. So here you can see the version is the design it tries to deploy. It has the version v1.6.0, and if you go inside of templates, mesh model components, do you have that version available? If you go into the repo, uh, templates, because templates, mesh model components. Do you have that version?
Yeah, it's present, I think
Okay.
1.6.
Okay. So if the version is there, then that is not a version specific issue. Although there was a recent change made in Meshery server, which can possibly fix this issue, but there was not a release made in the Meshery server. So yeah, you can go ahead with your these end-to-end tests which are failing in some of these adapters. These would eventually pass once a Meshery server release is made. Because previously we were being a little stricter with the versions that if you do not have this particular version, so let's say that you want to deploy a service, Kubernetes service, and inside of the component that you that so for okay, so here's the thing. If you, let's say, drag and I showed you mesh map, if you drag and drop, let's say, a service, or if you try to create a service, and the that component, when I talk about those little nodes that I showed you there, and those are actually generated from dynamically from Kubernetes. So let's say that you had a Kubernetes 1.25.0 running, and Meshery connected to that Kubernetes, and it extracted all the resources. One thing was service, and let's say that you disconnect from your Kubernetes cluster A, and then you reconnect from to Kubernetes cluster B, which is of which where the server version is, let's say, at the Kubernetes server version is 1.22.0. So what will happen is that because the resources that Meshery fetched, the component definitions that Meshery created were from one version, and then you try to deploy it to another version. It was failing, but now we are a little loose with those. We are flexible with those. So even if you go cross Kubernetes version, or you go cross any model version, there wouldn't be a problem. Here, one of those problems were in some of the adapters, that the version of that particular service mesh we were trying to deploy was something else, and here it was something else. And here in this particular case, that's not a version issue, but the logs were improved as well. So I think we'll see about that once a Meshery release is made. I'll rerun these workflows, and then that would be a better starting point to debug, as most probably either the issues would be fixed or the bug would be pretty straightforward because of the few of the fixes that were applied in Meshy server. And these adapter tests, when they fail, it's not necessarily the fault of your PR, or is the fault of what's wrong in the adapter. A lot of times it's an incompatibility issue or a bug that was fixed in Meshy server, because in these end-to-end tests, we stand a Meshy server and then we stand a Meshy adapter, and the Meshy adapter talks to Meshy, and then the user, like all these designs that I'm talking about, whenever you try to deploy something, it always goes to Meshy server, and then Meshy server looks at that design, and then it figures out, let's say the model is Istio, and then it figures out, okay, so if the model is Istio, do I have an Istio adapter? Okay, I do have an Istio adapter connected to me, and it makes a gRPC call to Meshery Istio adapter and says, hey, deploy virtual service and deploy Istio mesh and deploy all these resources of these particular versions. So that's the flow. As you can see, Meshery server plays a central part over here. So if there is a problem with Meshery server, of course the adapter test would fail. So yeah, that's not on part of your issue. So I think we can merge both of your PRs.
Yeah, so this one is must. This one
Yeah,
just
yeah. I
needs to be
mean,
must. Yeah,
yeah,
logs.
yeah.
Yeah,
We can.
and this third item was to externalize the config for the Kuma adapter. So in the last call, it was discussed that the keys should be all camel cased. So uh, I had camel cased the keys in the metadata.json file, and I've also made this change across the whole adapter repo so that the change remains uniform.
Can you show
So
any of
I
these components on left? I mean the version components that were changed. Like I see a diff there as well. Like the 300 or so files that were changed, right? Yeah. So can you open on any of these why are these changed? Like I'm guessing that you changed the inside of metadata field. These fields were also changed, right?
yeah. So I just camel case the keys like these were like previously all present with previous
Mm-hmm.
conventions. So
Mm-hmm.
these were like in capital or but they were not camel case. So I changed it. If it's not required, I will undo it.
No. Actually, if you have the link to the source spreadsheet that I talked about, Meshy integration spreadsheet, whatever the column name is there, you have to have the exact same thing over here. And again, that has to be part of a workflow, and that's one of the future tasks. But right now, that's a manual thing. Do you have a link to that integrations workflow?
No, I don't have that.
Okay, so I'm putting it in chat. You can. I think Aditya had opened that. Okay. Yeah, here's the one I'm putting in chat. This is the spreadsheet, and in this spreadsheet you can see the column name and whatever the column. Do you have a primary? Yeah. So the primary color column name is camel cased, right? So if this is
Yeah,
camel cased, okay. So if this is camel cased, then that JSON file is all has also should also be camel cased.
yeah.
Okay, and
So it's
can you make sure that this same change is there across all the other repos as well, all the other adapters?
yeah, yeah, I will do that. But is the config file already externalized for all the adapters? Like, or else I would have to first externalize the config file and
Uh,
then
I
camel case the.
I think for most of the adapters, it has been externalized. If it hasn't been, then you're good to go. Do that as well. And then the other thing would be to make sure that the previous components are also have gone from primary to second. Actually, the things that we, as I said about mesh model, the UI is not actually right now using, it's an open thing right now. So it's a long-standing item. So that's why we're not running into bugs. Otherwise, like even your PR is like still work in progress. So if you were using those particular things right now, as of now, so again, that would have been broken, but so in future we would be using these, so we would want to get these things correct. Otherwise we'll have to come back again and again to make sure that okay, so we left this particular adapter or this particular component. So make sure that you have made that change across all adapters. And I mean, if there is not already a change across all adapters. So, and this is kind of a general wisdom to everyone, which is if you're trying to contribute to any of Meshery adapters, make sure that you refer to other adapters, and that change should be uniform. Even if you entered like, if you add a function, if you add a method, if you add anything that is not in other adapters, you should have a good reason to why is this adapter not having this thing which this adapter does not have. And whenever there is something in common, it has to either go in the adapter library or it has to go inside of meshkit. So okay, coming back to your item, yeah, I think we can merge it. Although I'll look at the diff once to make sure that I'll have to trust you on this one, because it's hard to look at the diff because it's not showing
No,
me that only
yeah, yeah.
this.
Actually, many files are also deleted here. So I
Okay,
think there was a whole directory which was deleted. So because of that, the diff is very large.
okay. Okay, I get it. I get it. So, okay, I'll review and merge this one as well.
Yeah,
Put
and
both.
the
Go ahead.
yeah, okay. So I will also do the same camel case changes across all the adapters. And if there's no config and if the config file has not been externalized, I will also do that. And so coming to this, in the previous call, three issues were discussed to be created, which I have created here. One was the same. One was to improve the that message invalid workload of type mesh, which we saw previously for Nginx adapter, because that's not very helpful. So we would like to enhance it.
Okay.
This
You can close this one, because the log that you get invalid workload of type Kuma mesh is not actually from adapter. It is from Meshy server, because as I said, Meshy server plays a central part. The job of the adapter is just Meshy server will tell it to do something, and if it can't, it will tell Meshy server, hey, I can't do this. So this particular the so again, in the next Meshery release, this particular bug would go away. That's what I'm trying to say. It has been fixed, so you can close the second issue. So yeah, go on.
Yeah, okay. And so for the third issue, the missing version for mesh model component. So, like we discussed, the version was not present in the directory
Hmm.
here. So
Hmm.
because of which the tests were failing. So,
Hmm.
if you could give some reference to work on this issue and then this one, which was to create a workflow uh, on to update the mesh model dot metadata JSON file from the spreadsheet. So, like, if you could give some reference here to work on both these issues, I will take on this and start working.
Okay, I'm hesitant to give you a green flag on both. The last one, which is missing version for mesh model component, I mean, that you can take up. But again, so there is a very hacky way in which I would fix it, and I'll do it myself. I think I said that in the last call as well, and it's in my. You can assign that to me if it has already not been assigned. The first one I can give you reference. You can go through that flow. You can use your own wisdom. You can figure out if if you can do it or not. Uh, because we are on top of the hour, I cannot go into like much details. Thank you, Ravi. Uh, uh, See you in the next call. Okay, so yeah, so there is a workflow inside of there is a workflow inside of if you go inside of Meshery, if you go inside of Meshery repo, there is a scripts directory. Inside of scripts directory, there is a component updation directory. There you have a Go program. I mean, it should have been like a bash script, but I use Go for everything, so I wrote a bash script with Go. Let's say so. This is the logic. This like you can see column names to extract, column names to extract for docs. It's just a like a bad. It's a bash script written in Golang you can think of. So here, this particular, and this is the program that runs, and the workflow which invokes this thing is inside of .github workflows, and there is a workflow named. If you go inside of click on actions, I can direct you to the workflow. Click on actions, directly click on actions from there. Okay, we can go from here as well. Okay, if you integrations updater, yeah, okay, if you click on integrations updater, .yaml, yeah, this one. So this one calls the there is a hard-coded URL you would find over here, the URL to the spreadsheet. If you scroll all the way down, yeah. So on line number 40, you can see it calls the main binary with that particular thing. So I think there would be some logic needed to change in the code as well, because as I said, it's just a bash script. It's not like a well-written Go program which has bunch of interfaces and bunch of structs which handle different cases and all. It's just a bash script. So there are two use cases that we solve from the same particular Go program. One is the updation of the workflow, the Meshy server components, and the other one Meshy.io and layer5.io repo. When I showed 150 plus components, those components, you can use the same exact thing to populate the components inside of adapter as well. But yeah, you would need to think. That's all I can give you right now. It would like another half an hour discussion on how you can actually accomplish that. I'll leave that to you. If you have any doubts, you can tell me your progress on Slack, and if your progress is good enough, and I think okay, you've made enough progress on yourself, we can get in a huddle and then we can pass it through, or we can discuss it in another call. Just put it onto the next meetings agenda items. We're already 5 minutes over time, so I'll now hijack the meeting from you. Thank you, Ayush.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So I guess we missed someone. Okay, no, this was about attendees assignments and all. So I guess we covered everyone. So everyone, thanks for joining the call. And if you didn't get any agenda items assigned to you, I hope you learned something, or maybe again, I would recommend the newcomers call and the dev call also along with this call. So if you're a newcomer, you'll have a better idea of how the architecture is laid out, Meshery's architecture. Okay, so I guess see you all in the next dev call, and next week we'll have another CI call. See you then, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
Ashish.
Thank you, Kobe. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, bud.
Bye, Mario.